Welcome back, everyone. Today we continue with part 54 of our What If Goku Was Betrayed and Locked Inside the Hyperbolic Time Chamber series. Let's aim for 350 likes on this one, okay? Let's get those engagements up like they used to. So don't forget to leave a comment letting me know if you've enjoyed the series so far. With that, let's begin. As time itself seemed to fold, the scene transitioned from a distant memory to the stark, unsettling reality of the future. A future marked by conflict and chaos. The setting was the worn-torn planet of Lord Belmod, the formidable god of destruction of Universe 11. The air was thick with the aftermath of battle, each breath a reminder of the desperate struggle for survival. Amidst the shattered remnants of what once was, Toppo, once a towering figure of justice and power, now knelt defeated and drained on the cold, hard ground. His frame, usually so full of vigor and resolve, was slumped, his shoulders bowed under the weight of exhaustion. The mighty hero struggled to maintain his destruction form, his energy reserves dangerously depleted, his aura flickering weakly around him. Not far from him, Jiren, the mortal whose power was rumored to surpass even that of a god of destruction, stood with heavy breaths clouding in the chilly air. Despite his exceptional training under the watchful eye of his universe's angel, Margarita, and having mastered the elusive technique of Ultra Instinct, Jiren found himself pushed to his limits. The foe they faced, the demon god Azazel, was a force beyond their reckoning, a terror that seemed untouchable by mortal hands. Inside his grand palace, Lord Belmod was a visage of defeat and weariness. Recent battles had left him bruised and battered, his once immaculate garb torn and stained with the marks of conflict. His injuries, though severe, had not yet dulled the fiery spirit that burned within him. Sensing that his most loyal and valiant warriors were teetering on the brink of annihilation, Belmod, driven by a mix of duty and desperation, resolved to join the fray. If death was to be his fate, he preferred it to be alongside those who had fought valiantly under his command. As he gathered his strength to step out from the sanctuary of his palace, a chilling sound halted him in his tracks. It was a shrill, piercing alarm, one that he had not heard for nearly a billion years. An alarm that signaled a threat not just to a world, or even a galaxy, but to the entire multiverse. The God Pod, a device given to him and all other gods of destruction by Zeno himself, was designed to warn of cataclysmic dangers that could unravel the very fabric of reality. Lord Belmod's heart sank, his eyes widening with a mix of fear and realization. The magnitude of the threat they faced was now undeniable. If the God Pod had sounded its alarm, then the turmoil wrought by Azazel might be far more catastrophic than they had imagined. It was said that if these pods were to ever sound an alarm, it is because the entire multiverse was in danger. The resonant alarm of the God Pod sent a surge of panic through Lord Belmod's veins, his heart sinking as the gravity of the situation dawned upon him. Standing amidst the ruins of his once regal palace, he muttered to himself, his voice barely above a whisper, grappling with the scale of the threat. What could this mean? He pondered, his thoughts swirling in turmoil. Could this being, the one both Jiren and Toppo fight, be a multiverse's threat, or is it because of the Saiyan? Belmod knew the criteria all too well. Only those at the level of the Grand Priest, or greater, could be deemed a multiversal threat. He spoke with a mix of disbelief and resignation. Surely this isn't the case. His mind raced. The Saiyans have indeed grown powerful, surpassing even gods of destruction and some angels. But to rival the Grand Priest, that cannot be. His thoughts streamed like codes through a computer program, trying to decode the unfolding chaos. Could it be that this being, the one outside, is the universal threat? He questioned as he steadied himself to leave the safety of his palace once more. But just as he was about to step through the grand exit, a chilling voice echoed, seemingly from nowhere and everywhere at once. It was his oracle fish, shouting as if possessed, repeating a cryptic prophecy. All shall converge into one and one shall reign supreme. The words reverberated through the desolate halls, each repetition sinking deeper into Belmod's weary soul. What could this possibly mean? Belmod, feeling far too weak to engage in battle, finally stepped outside, the weight of his decisions bearing down on him. With a voice laden with regret, he confessed to himself, it was a mistake to have started this war. The realization dawned on him that perhaps they, the gods of destruction, were merely pawns in a much larger game orchestrated by Zeno himself, a game whose scope and consequences they had not fully understood until now. As he emerged into the harsh light of the battle-scarred world, the sight that greeted him was one of desperation and defiance. Both Jiren and Toppo were engaged in a fierce struggle, their bodies pushed to the brink as they contended with a massive sphere of destructive energy unleashed by Azazel. The demon god's power was immense, threatening to overwhelm them as they stood their ground in their most formidable forms. Higher, Jiren yelled, his voice echoing across the battlefield, a beacon of strength in the face of overwhelming odds. Raise your energy higher, he urged Toppo, the strain evident in his voice but his resolve unbreakable. "We must not die. We must not allow this monster to reach Lord Belmod." With a Herculean effort that seemed to defy the very limits of their beings, Jiren and Toppo unleashed all the energy they could muster. The ground beneath them cracked and groaned, a stark testament to the sheer force they were exerting. In a display of cosmic upheaval, Belmod's planet trembled violently, briefly shifting off its axis before settling back into place. The air was filled with their combined shouts, a resonant declaration of their refusal to yield. As their energies collided with Azazel's formidable blast, the demon god watched in disbelief as his attack was slowly, but surely, repelled. The sight of these mortals, standing defiant against his overwhelming power, brought a hint of amusement to his eyes. "What's this?" he exclaimed, genuinely intrigued. "These mortals aren't half bad. They are definitely the strongest I've encountered in a while, aside from Lord Zalama. I can't believe they are actually pushing me back. Sure, I'm barely trying, but for beings of their level, this is quite impressive." His amusement quickly waned as his patience thinned. "The fun is over," Azazel declared, his voice booming across the battlefield. "But it's time I end it. I have a schedule to follow. Can't waste any more time on small fries like you two." With a sinister smile, he increased his power by 10%, now exerting 30% of his full capacity. The power of his blast intensified dramatically, the dark energy within swelling with terrifying force. Just as the enhanced blast was about to overwhelm Jiren and Toppo, a new force intervened. Lord Belmod, summoning every ounce of his remaining strength, unleashed a Hakai blast of his own. His attack collided with Azazel's, diverting it off its deadly course. The resulting explosion was colossal, sending shockwaves that rippled far beyond the planet's atmosphere, a vivid display of divine might. Azazel, laying eyes on Lord Belmod for the first time, confirmed his earlier suspicions. Lord Beerus wasn't a demon, just as his comrade Abaddon had suggested. However, he was perplexed by Belmod's ability to wield destruction energy. "Although it isn't pure destruction energy like that of a true demon, it still puzzles me," Azazel thought, intrigued by how a non-demon could manipulate such potent forces. "So you finally come out," Azazel said, fixing his menacing gaze on Lord Belmod, who now stood defiantly despite his injuries. "Lord Belmod, why have you come out?" Toppo inquired, concern evident in his voice. He knew all too well how badly Belmod was hurt, and any further exertion could cause serious internal damage. "I will not hide away like a coward," Belmod declared with a fierce resolve. "I am a god, the god of destruction of Universe 11, he proclaimed, assuming a battle pose that spoke volumes of his readiness to fight, regardless of his condition. Sensing the gravity of the moment, both Jiren and Toppo instinctively jumped back to flank their lord. Their movements were swift and determined, positioning themselves to support Belmod, ready to back him up in the impending showdown. Azazel's expression twisted into a sinister grin as he prepared to unleash his unique combat style on the defenders of Universe 11. Unlike most fighters who relied on a blend of physical combat and ki manipulation, Azazel's strength lay in his mastery of magic, the arcane art of ki manipulation that allowed him to wield his enormous energy reserves with devastating effect. With a deceptive casualness, he took a single step forward. In the blink of an eye, however, the scene shifted dramatically. He wasn't just moving, he was bending the very fabric of space. By the time the onlookers processed his movement, he was already behind them, his presence ghostly and unnervingly silent. The defenders barely had time to register his position when he reached out and tapped Toppo on the shoulder. The touch, light yet imbued with dark power, sent Toppo hurtling uncontrollably forward. Before Toppo could regain his bearings, a dark portal snapped open in the air before him. With no time to react, he was sucked into the abyssal void, the portal sealing shut with a finality that echoed ominously through the battlefield. This was Azazel's pocket demon dimension, a fearsome ability granted by Xeno to the demon race, a realm where only demons, and Xeno himself, could manipulate space and captivity. Time was of the essence for Azazel, who was evidently growing impatient with the delays. He was due to return to Lord Zarama, and every second counted. As he turned his focus back to Belmod, Jiren and the injured god made a tactical decision to split up, hoping to outmaneuver their foe with swift movements. Azazel, however, anticipated this. His eyes narrowed as he calculated Belmod's likely path, and, with precision born of countless battles, he unleashed a potent ki blast towards the spot where he predicted Belmod would land. The prediction was accurate. Belmod, already severely weakened and slowed by his injuries, couldn't avoid the incoming attack. The blast struck him squarely, the impact resonating with a thunderous explosion that shook the very air. The force of the explosion was too much for the already battered god of destruction. As the smoke cleared, Belmod lay on the ground, his body scorched and smoldering, blood trickling from his mouth, a stark testament to the severity of his injuries from the previous battles with the Saiyans. Though the blast was intended to incapacitate rather than kill, the damage was severe. As Belmod lay vulnerable, another portal opened beneath him, mirroring the one that had ensnared Toppo. With no strength left to resist, Belmod was swallowed by the dark void, the portal snapping shut as quickly as it had appeared, leaving no trace of the fallen god. Azazel stood amidst the chaos he had wrought, a grim reminder of his power. Despite the might of Universe 11's greatest warriors, they had failed to withstand even 10 minutes against him. This swift defeat of some of the most powerful beings in existence only highlighted the terrifying strength of Azazel, a demon god whose powers were perhaps unmatched. "What's happened?" Jiren gasped, his voice a mix of shock and rage as he struggled to comprehend the swift and devastating events that had just unfolded before him. "What have you done? Where have you taken them?" he demanded, his voice echoing with fury as he tapped into a deeper, more potent reservoir of power than he had ever accessed before. His energy expanded dramatically, swirling around him like a vibrant galaxy, its brilliant luminescence casting light across the expanse of space. Azazel watched, his interest piqued by this sudden surge of strength. "What's this?" he mused aloud, a smirk playing on his lips. "It seems you found new strength. Impressive. But it simply is not enough. I will kill you as I have no need for you. You don't possess destruction keys, so you'll have to die." With no further words, the two adversaries charged at each other, their movements a blur of speed and ferocity. Azazel reached Jiren first, his demonic speed giving him the upper hand. He launched a planet-shattering blow, a punch that carried the weight of a meteor strike. Jiren, now empowered and prepared, managed to block the attack. Steam hissed off his hands as the force of Azazel's blow met the unyielding wall of his defense. However, the sheer power behind the attack sent Jiren reeling backward, showcasing that seeing the attack was one thing but withstanding it was an entirely different challenge. Regaining his balance mid-flight, Jiren barely had a moment to recover before Azazel unleashed another onslaught. Using his uncanny predictive abilities, almost akin to a superior form of observation haki, Azazel rained down a barrage of ki blasts from above, perfectly targeting the area where Jiren would land. Caught off guard while still dealing with the aftermath of the first massive strike, Jiren was hit squarely by the barrage. The impacts were catastrophic, driving him down to the planet's surface. The force of the attack was so immense that it penetrated the crust, reaching the core and causing a cataclysmic reaction. Within moments, the planet erupted in a massive explosion, its destruction complete and absolute. As the planet disintegrated, Azazel, unaffected by the vacuum of space, teleported away, his mission in Universe 11 accomplished. He reappeared in the Null Realm, the specific location where Lord Zarama awaited. His ability to teleport to any previously visited location made his movements swift and unpredictable. Upon arrival, Azazel found Zarama standing alone, gazing contemplatively into the cosmic expanse, his posture calm and composed with his arms folded. The scene was strangely serene, a stark contrast to the chaos and destruction that had just ensued. Azazel stepped into the stillness of the Null Realm, his arrival cutting through the quiet like a sharp blade. Before him stood Zarama, his expression unreadable yet tinged with a slight smile as he acknowledged Azazel's presence. "Azazel, you've arrived. I take it you found what you were looking for." Zarama greeted him, his tone light yet carrying an undercurrent of anticipation. "Yes, my lord. But what happened? Have you defeated the Saiyan already, and where is their body?" Azazel responded, his surprise evident. He had known of Zarama's formidable strength, yet the quick resolution seemed almost too swift, especially given the Saiyan's significant power, comparable to that of Abaddon, who was considered the weakest of the primordial demon gods. "No," Zarama replied, his voice carrying a hint of irritation. "The battle was interrupted by that damn priest. He had taken them before I could reclaim my power from those Saiyans." Azazel's brow furrowed at the mention of the interruption. "What of Abaddon and Mephistopheles? You're the only one who has arrived back so far. I can't communicate with them as I don't have that shared telepathy you demons possess." Zarama glanced towards the horizon, his gaze distant. "The only one I've spoken to was Abaddon, who was engaged in combat with another fallen demon. You know, the ones with the falling destruction energy we discussed earlier." His tone suggested a mix of concern and frustration, reflecting the complexities of their situation. The two beings stood in the desolate landscape of the Null Realm, their figures solitary against the vast nothingness. They conversed quietly as they awaited the arrival of the rest of their allies. That's it for this episode, guys. If you've watched to the end, then that may be an indication that you enjoy the episode, so please drop a like so the video could reach more people. See you in the next episode. Take care.